If you don't live under a rock, I'm sure you've heard people say the market is changing, the market is changing, the market is changing, the market is changing. It's something that's so common. Yes, it's changing, but everybody over exaggerates its change. It's just such an overused like terminology to like clickbait and stuff like that. So in this video, I'm not going to directly say that, but I am going to tell you what I'm doing to pivot with potential changes. And we're going to discuss my 3 favorite wholesale real estate strategies in 2024 and moving forward. Now, one thing to note is a lot of these strategies were strategies that people used in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2017, you know, whatever. People have used these strategies before, so it's not like these are brand new strategies. It's like, oh my god, Alec, you came out with something new. But I'm going to tell you ways that you can implement them in 2024 that maybe is a little bit different than people were doing in previous years, and how I'm implementing these as well, because this isn't just some speculative video of somebody that's like, oh yeah, this is what I heard. Like, this is what I'm actively doing. So everything is actually in practice, not just in ideas and speculation. The third strategy is actually my favorite. I don't just say that as one of those things people say to make you watch the full video, but genuinely the third one is what I'm pivoting in 2024, and how I am finding deals, if it's real estate, investment, wholesale, flip, Airbnb, whatever deals in this market. Now, as a little preface, there are a lot of notable changes in 2024. Some of those changes are things such as restrictions on cold calling, restrictions on texting, where now, you know, numbers are getting tagged as spam very often, or texting has a lot of regulations, which it kind of came back from in its defense. Emerging technologies such as, you know, AI, free skip tracing. Like, a lot of these companies are offering free skip tracing now, and they're offering AI cold callers and AI texters that are replacing human beings. So those are some new things. When it comes to free skip tracing, Batch Leads offers free skip tracing now, so check out my referral if you want to get that. What a shameless plug that was. But yeah, Batch Leads is offering that, so that's pretty cool. But another change is Airbnb crash that everybody's been talking about for 3 years, that I've talked about before. Higher days listed on the market, and I actually just closed on a flip. Actually is closing today. So that's pretty cool. By the time this video gets posted, it would have been closed. Maybe you'll see the video I recorded on that flip. But yeah, that deal is closing today. But active days on market is a lot longer, where it used to be, you know, 7, 14, now it's in the 30. And now it's like, man, if a house is listed for 30 days, it's normal. But then 2 years ago, it was like, oh, there's something wrong. So that's a change. And then some other changes are a looming market crash that everybody's been predicting for 5 years. An election year is coming up, which 2024 is the biggest election year in world history, or in at least modern history, where not only is America electing a president, but over 50 countries are electing presidents. That's gonna change some things, and potentially the world ending, which I'm sure if you see conspiracy theories and watch movies on Netflix, you'll know what I'm talking about. But maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Hopefully it doesn't, but to, you know, just bunker up. So onto the strategies. Now, I already mentioned this, but if you're experienced in real estate, if you've been in real estate for a while, not all of these are new, but these are just different ways that maybe you can implement them, or different ways that you can start doing these strategies if you haven't already, but you knew about them. So the first strategy is reverse wholesaling. And I'm sure it's something you've heard about. People have been mentioning it for a long time. It's something that I've done. It's something that a lot of people get started doing. If you don't know what reverse wholesaling is it's essentially, it's finding the buyer, ideally buyers, and then finding the seller, and then finding the deal, and ideally plugging the buyer into the deal before you get under contract. So now you can go into the contract and into the negotiation with a more confident mindset, where you know your buyer that you are connected with and is a serious buyer said they could offer 200 for the house, and you can get under contract for 190. Where before with a seller, you were going to maybe get under contract for 190 and you're not sure what you can sell it for. Now you know going into it, I have an offer for 200. I just need to get it lower than that. So reverse wholesaling is great. It really adds like an extra confidence in the deal, especially if it's not something that you right now can close on. If you're in a rough state, you don't have money, you're just getting started, and you really don't want to buy a house, reverse wholesaling is a great way of, you know, going into it more confident and knowing what you can make. Now, this is an ideal starting spot, but this is also an ideal growing spot too, where this is something that I'm doing at my business, where I want to find buyers that are buying right now and I want to send them my deals before I get them. And it just makes it way easier because I've been wholesaling for a while, and the disposition, if you don't know, disposition means selling the deals. The disposition process can take a long time. It can be stressful, it can be time consuming, it can wear you out, you can go over inspection periods, you can lose deposits, which, you know, as long as you cancel your inspection on time, you're not going to. But, you know, there are things that can happen. So just going into it without having to worry about that with a good buyers is really helpful. Now, there's also another way you can do this, and it's finding a wholesaler with good buyers and then reverse wholesaling with their buyers. Now you're adding another, you know, finger in the pot, right? But it also helps because now they have their buyers ideally performed with them in the past, and you can use their buyers to go in with a confidence and close the deal. And if you're new, ideally that wholesaler will also hold your hand with the contract process. So now you have the buyer holding your hand with the offer and the wholesaler holding your hand with the contract process and the closing process. And one of the reasons that this is important in 2024 is people aren't buying like they used to. I mentioned all the things before about market changes and the world ending and all these things, and a lot of my friends are actually selling their houses and they're not buying. They're waiting for something to happen. They're staying liquid, and it's harder to sell deals. Now there's a ton of active buyers, but it's still harder to sell deals than it previously was, where everybody was predicting appreciation and now people are more skeptical about it. I still think there's gonna be a lot of appreciation in the market, especially if, you know, a business-minded president is elected, which I'm not saying like I side with anybody, but if a business-minded president is elected, there probably will be appreciation and probably will be interest rate drops, which will increase home values. So overall, to sum this part up, find the buyer first, sell the deal to the buyer, get them kind of interested in the deal, then go into the negotiation. You go in with an additional confidence, saves you a lot of time. Even if you leave money on the table, but you have that guaranteed offer, it really just saves a lot of mental bandwidth. That's not even something I spoke about, but just like your mental energy and like well-being is just a lot easier if you don't have to worry about buyers and all this stuff, and you go in with that guaranteed offer. So that's reverse wholesaling. If you didn't know what it was, I hope that explained it. If you are wholesaling and you haven't done it, I recommend you start doing that because it's a great way of, you know, just helping yourself with this process. It's also a lot more scalable in my opinion because now you don't have to spend so much time on dispositions and all these other things. What's up guys, just interrupting the video for a quick little sponsor shout out, and shout out to our sponsor, which is actually me. Oh, plot twist. But yeah, I'm the sponsor of this video. And the reason I am sponsoring this video is I recently started a real estate community. It's completely free. We have free courses, free mentorship. I have 2 partners in it with me. We're answering all your questions. It's a great way to network with me, network with other wholesalers, investors. There's buyers in the group, lenders in the group, a lot of experienced wholesalers, new wholesalers, accountability partners. So if you're looking to get into that, I highly recommend you check it out. It's once again completely free. It's a great offer. It's on Schaal. I'm going to put the link right here for how to get into the group. And I hope to see you there, and let's get back into this video, which I hope you enjoy as I see like the final product, and I think it's good. Hopefully it's not too confusing, by the way, with like all the numbers part with the creative financing that I'm going to get into. So I guess this is also a disclaimer that don't feel overwhelmed by these numbers in the creative finance part, because it's not something, if you're new, you should understand right away. But just, you know, kind of comprehend it so you'll get it in the future. But yeah, thanks for watching. Weird sponsor video, but it's fun. And number 2 is something that I want to make future videos about because it's something that I'm really doing in 2024, something that I really was pushing in 2023. And if you watch my videos before, you know it's something I've spoken about, and it's creative financing. I love creative financing. It's how I own properties. I've done Airbnbs. I own, you know, wraps, flips. I've done a lot of, you know, wholesale creative deals. And I love creative deals because you can offer the sellers full price for their house essentially, where most buyers can't do that. Especially if you're wholesaling cash, you can't offer full price unless their full price is like a wholesale price. You know, you have to offer them 50, 60, 70% on the dollar. Where creative financing, I'm offering them 100% on the dollar because it's good terms and I don't have to qualify for a mortgage and it's lower down payments. So in my opinion, this is the best opportunity in 2024 is creative financing. If somebody asked me right now, how should you get started in real estate, I would almost lean towards starting in creative financing. And the cool part about creative financing is you can do this on the market. You can call on MLS leads that don't have equity and aren't selling and pitch them creative terms and get deals that have been listed on the market for 40, 50 days and get them under contract to make money on them, where thousands of people looked at that house and couldn't make money on it. And as I mentioned, I'm gonna make a future video about this, but just in overlaps of creative financing, there's two main elements, and it's sub 2 and seller financing. Those are the two main elements of creative financing. Sub 2 means, let's say I'm buying a house for $100,000 and the seller of the house, I'm the buyer, the seller of the house has a mortgage on the house. If I buy it for $100,000, I give the $100,000 to the title company, which is like the person that handles all the money and stuff like that. The title company will then pay off the mortgage and then pay the seller. So that's how the line of order goes. I give the money to the title company pays off the mortgage, any liens or fees, then the seller makes their money. But now in creative financing and sub 2, what I can do is, instead of me paying the $100,000 and paying off the mortgage, I could keep that mortgage in place. I'll take over the payments for it and I'll pay the seller whatever that difference is between the $100,000 and the mortgage. So let's say that mortgage was $60,000. If I give them $100K cash, I'm paying off the mortgage of $60,000 and I'm giving the seller $40,000. But if I do it sub 2, I'm giving the seller $40,000 and I save that $60,000 and I'm keeping the mortgage in place and making the payments on it. And then ideally I can cash flow it, or I can find a buyer and say, hey, look, I have this mortgage in place. It's a sub 2 deal. You know, you don't have to qualify for a mortgage. You can live in the house, you can Airbnb it, rent it out. And, you know, homestead buyers are interested that maybe don't have credit, or creative buyers that don't want to qualify for a mortgage and, you know, like the terms. So that's sub 2. I know that was a quick overlap since it's a lot deeper than that. And, you know, that was probably a little advanced. So I'll make future videos. Obviously check out like Isaac Pace Morby and stuff. That's who I learned from like years ago. But sub 2 is great. And then seller financing, what that is let's say the same example, the $100,000. Now instead of me paying $100,000, let's say I give the seller 10% down. So 10% of $100,000 is $10,000. And then that $90,000, let's say I pay them every month. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you 10% down and then I'll pay you $500 a month until I pay off that $90,000. And that's what seller financing is. And usually it's not super black and white like that. Like maybe there's interest rates and stuff like that, or mortgages already in place, but that's a brief overlaps. And what I like about creative financing is ideally you can keep these houses. Ideally you see the deals and it's low entries and it will cash flow and you can keep the houses. Where if it's a cash deal, you're like, oh, I don't want to get a hard money loan, qualify for a mortgage. It's just a lot easier to actually keep the houses. And what I really like, I just said what I liked before, but what I really like is on a business scale, it's a lot less overhead, because instead of paying for cold callers and texters and VAs and all these things, you can just do creative deals on market and it's a lot less overhead. And I've spent a lot of money on my overhead before, and I really want a low overhead business. So that's why it's a huge focus for me. And number 3 is what I am doing now and one of my main focuses, and that's inbound marketing. So inbound marketing means sellers are reaching out to you instead of outbound marketing, which is you're reaching out to sellers. So there's a lot of different ways to do inbound marketing. Things like SEO, which is having a website that people look up on Google and they find your website. PPC, which is paid ads, where people see your ads on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and click on it. Typically ads say sell my house fast and they click on it. Referrals, such as people reaching out on social media or seeing your blogs or your podcast and wanting to sell you their house or do JVs with you because they see you're in the market that they're in. And market authority, which means you have a meetup and people want to actively do deals with you and people want to do business with you because you are an authority and you're serious. There's another kind of part of inbound marketing. It's like the expensive one that most people can't afford, and that's like billboards, you know, like billboards on the highway or like TV ads or radio. You know, those are a lot more expensive and, you know, probably not the best starting point, you know, because the entry. But why I like inbound marketing and why I like sellers reaching out to you is, yes, there is a more upfront cost, right? Let's say I'm spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 upfront to run my campaign, but when I get those leads, they're more motivated. And the actual cost per lead and cost per contract, so like how much I spend every month to get those leads and to get those contracts and those deals, can actually be lower because I'm not spending so much money to get them. And another element of that is lower follow-up. Usually if somebody's looking online, sell my house, and they find your ad and they click it and they fill it out, usually they want to sell it quicker than somebody that you cold call that says, oh yeah, I'll sell in 6 months, and you follow up every month. So there's like some other factors in there that, yes, it's more upfront expensive, but is it really more upfront expensive? Because if you think about it, it's not, you know, because the cost to do deals and the cost to find leads and things like that, the bigger upfront cost is usually set off in my experience. And having motivated sellers reach out to you is a lot easier. It's easier conversations. You're not getting yelled at, you know, you're not getting nagged, you're not getting reported. That's why I like it. And that's kind of like why I'm moving my business to an inbound marketing based business and to a creative finance based business. And if you need somebody to handle your inbound marketing with like PPC and stuff, my friend Esteban, he's really good at that. He has a company called Hustle Media, and they do PPC and stuff. So that's what I would recommend if you know you wanted my recommendation. But yeah, I don't want this video to go too much longer. That's 3 wholesale real estate strategies that I'm really focusing on in 2024, and kind of like a brief overview on why I'm doing those. So I hope this video provides some value. You know, let me know in the comments which real estate strategies you're doing. Are you going to be doing any of these? Are you still doing cold calling and texting? Are you doing something completely different? I would love to learn and, you know, hear what you say. So like, subscribe, drop me that comment, and thanks for watching.